If Russell Wilson is favored to be the Steelers' starting quarterback for 2024, and Justin Fields is favored to be the Steelers' starting quarterback for 2024, what are the odds for Kenny Pickett, given that he's the only quarterback actually on the roster? It seems like the Steelers' fan base tides are turning for which QB they'd like to lead the squad into next year. Immediately after the season ended, it was Mason. And then, a couple weeks into the offseason, Justin Fields became all the rage. Now, we're talking about Russell Wilson. Now, there have been other candidates thrown into the mix, but I think if you were to bring up any of those three names at any of those given times as your pick or your option for the Steelers QB, you wouldn't be getting much resistance. And I understand the why, like why it makes sense for the Steelers for each of them, more for Mason and Russ, and to a degree with Fields. My only complaint is just the fans that think the minute the Steelers trade for Fields, if the team were to do that, that he's all of a sudden going to be guaranteed multi-time Pro Bowler and the franchise guy. It's almost like we were trading for Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. Fields ain't that. Like, I still think Kenny Pickett is better, and I still think Kenny Pickett has upside, but people just want to ignore that and put all the upside and all the talent on Fields and forget about the guy that we have on the roster and the guy that we drafted in the first round a couple years ago and the guy that is 12-5 over the last 17 games. But I digress. I get the appeal for Fields. I don't like the potential draft pick you got to give up to get him, and also the fifth-year option discussion. But again, still, I get it. Back to Mason, he balled out those last 4 games of the season. He was a sentimental figure for Steeler Nation, turned the offense, the season around, got us into the playoffs, and didn't blink. So it makes sense if you want to bring him back. He's still not over the hill or anything. He's going to be 28, I think, for 2024. Like, he's an intriguing prospect if he could replicate what he did at the end of last year. And for the amount it's going to take to bring him back, yeah, why not? I don't think it's going to cost too much. But as we sit here today, perhaps the most sensible option has just fallen right into our laps. Russell Wilson. The reports are that the Broncos are going to cut him, and you got Chad Johnson adding fuel to the fire, saying on the Shannon Sharp's Nightcap podcast that once that happens and Russ is released, he's going to want to go to the Berg.
I think we got to work on the Steelers now. If a little birdie told me, I'm a little birdie told me, and I said this many shows ago, if Russell Wilson coming on over there to the Steelers, Cleveland had Deshaun, well, the AFC gonna be hell.
And apparently, Russ's new team is not gonna have to take on his lucrative contract. It'll most likely be at the veteran minimum, because I just found this out. Whatever money he takes with his new team will take away what the Broncos will have to pay. So, for example, if he takes a $20 million deal, he still makes the same that's on his prior contract he signed in Denver. It's just that the Broncos will pay him $20 million less of that. So I don't know why Russ would want to help the Broncos out more than his future team. The vet minimum contract is probably the most likely scenario. So we're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson, coming off of a not so shabby year in Denver with 29 total touchdowns and single-digit interceptions, potentially playing on a veteran minimum deal. Listen, you guys know I'm all for Kenny Pickett being quarterback 1 in 2024. I think we will do just fine with him, and he will prove the haters wrong if given that opportunity, or even if it's a Pickett-Mason quarterback competition. But I would completely understand if the Steelers change their mind or look into this Russ situation seriously, because this would be tough to pass up. And I'm not sure what conversations are exactly being had behind the scenes within the Steelers organization. Obviously, Tomlin and Rooney have hinted that KP8 is their guy, but they've also said they're going to bring in more to the quarterback room for competition. Now, Rooney also said it's not going to be some type of big blockbuster, but is making a signing like Russell Wilson on a vet minimum deal considered blockbuster. It's probably just a move that makes some damn sense, right? Again, I'm still a believer in Pickett and what he can do, but we know what Russ has done. I don't think he's necessarily all the way over the hill, but that is something that's a part of the conversation. How is he going to age? We'll have to find out whether it is in Denver or what team he's on. But I would understand if the Steelers pivoted and took that risk, particularly if the contract will be as low as what these reports are saying. But that's it for this edition of, I guess we're still calling this Big Deke News. I don't know, but hope you guys enjoyed. Stay chilling and peace.